Welcome back to Community Conversations. I'm your host, Steve Mantis, and my guest today is Donna Campbell from the Occupational Health Clinics for Ontario Workers, also known as OHCOW. So, Donna, before the break, we learned about kind of your personal journey, and now you've been with the Sudbury OHCOW Clinic for 24 years.
Yes.
Tell me more about the clinic. What are some of the highlights that you've experienced over that 24 years, and then we'll get into what some of those services are that are available here in Northwest Ontario.
Well, I think one of the bigger highlights was when we got the funding to start the clinic in Thunder Bay
Okay.
in 2010. We got the funding and we opened in April the 5th of 2010, and we had the grand opening in June 24th. And it's a smaller clinic, but we hope that it just continues to grow for Northwestern Ontario. It is the clinic for that whole catchment area. And we call our clinics, Sudbury and Thunder Bay, the northern clinics, because we work very closely together. And we do everything from the Manitoba border to the Quebec border, up to James Bay, and down to Muskokas.
So just that
And,
little area there.
Yeah, and down
Just
to
the
the United
backyard
States
here.
on this. Yeah. Yeah, not much, a little bit of travel.
So the Sudbury and the Thunder Bay clinics are connected in a way.
Yes, I'm the director of both of those clinics.
Okay.
For now. Eventually, we hope to have a large enough clinic where there will be a director here in Thunder Bay. We're just trying to build up, our presence and the demand for our services. Because we're not for profit, there's not a lot of budget in order to go out and, say, here we are. We do try that, but a lot of it is through word of mouth, and we put together our local advisory committee here in Thunder Bay, and we have a local advisory committee in Sudbury. And the local advisory is put together in order to make sure that the clinics actually meet the needs of the catchment area.
Okay.
So we have, everything from health professionals to the unions to employers, trying to get a representative group, also from First Nations, and so that they know what's happening out there, and they know what's happening for the health and safety in their areas. So it's an advisory committee, and very, very helpful.
So this is a health clinic for workers.
Mm-hmm.
What services do you actually provide to workers? Why would a worker come to you rather than going to see their doctor or the ER?
One of the services we do that makes us a little bit unique from some of the other health and safety associations, because we're all funded through the same funder, the Ministry of Labor, it would be that our clinical services, where we actually have occupational health physicians and nurses. So an individual worker would usually come to us because they have an injury, an illness, or a disease of some kind that they're trying to determine, did this happen in my workplace?
Okay.
I think the simplest way to put it would be that we're like CSIs.
Oh my gosh.
We're crime scene investigators, and the crime scene is at the workplace, right? Or not. Because it isn't always the workplace.
Right.
So we have a very unique team where we have the occupational health physicians and the nurses. Then we have ergonomists. So if it's work design that is the issue, repetitiveness of a job that you're doing.
Computer work.
Whether,
that's what we hear a lot about.
Office ergonomics, for sure. Things like that. They'll look at a person's file, so an individual or a patient's file. And if it's something to do with chemicals or biological or some of the physical too, the occupational or the industrial hygienist is there for that. In Sudbury, we actually have a library tech who does literature searches and searches for relevant information worldwide. So it's quite a team that can actually look and say, is this injury, illness, disease, is it caused from the workplace? So it's important to know that. we are not frontline people that will take this then into the WSIB system, because that's usually what if it's work related, it goes into the WSIB system.
Okay.
We're not frontline advocates though. We do our reports that are well, I think, written, that takes us through what we looked at, why we connected it, and make even recommendations for the workplace. Because you can recognize the disease, you can find it's work related, but then how does that help our system? The next step is prevention.
Right.
So we try to assist those workplaces to eliminate or at least control whatever it is at the source. So we'll do that by giving knowledge transfers. We do, which is another one of our services, where we will tailor to the workplace's needs. If there's a certain chemical, if there's a certain process where people are being hurt, anything like that, or sometimes it's just substitution of a product. So we will try to work with the Joint Health and Safety Committee. We ask that we're invited in by the 2 co-chairs of that committee to keep the internal responsibility strong. And we will try to help them, give them the information in writing with priorities of where they would start first. And sometimes it's everything from site visits to sometimes sampling, to do samples in the workplace to find out, dust particulates or isocyanates or something like that.
So I'm a construction worker, and I've been working at the mill.
Yes.
And there's all kinds of chemicals at the mill, and something happens, and geez, I seem to have shortness of breath.
Yes.
So I come to OHCOW. You guys say, hey, there may be a link with what you're exposed to there at that job. How does that step go from there to actually going on site at the mill and trying to make a difference in terms of reducing the risks there?
Well, we would look at the exposures, and sometimes you don't have to go on site.
Okay.
It's a matter of knowing what will cause the shortness of breath, right? Or the lung cancer or whatever it is. First thing is you get your diagnosis, and then you look at what can cause that particular type of a disease or an injury.
Okay.
And that's where the whole team comes in. And then we can make our determination that way. And we can't just walk into any workplace. We're not the Ministry of Labor. We have to be invited in. And some people will say, oh, gee, that's, how do you get in? We get in a lot of places just by asking and saying, we can help you with prevention. We hope, to do that. And in the North, we find there aren't a lot of resources, and employers are often quite willing to work with us because they want to find out what the problem is. And there may be some WSIB claims at that point, but then from then on, there won't be claims for that particular issue, we hope.
Right.
Anyway.
Well, let's hold it right there. We need to take another break. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.